We are bombarded with information daily. Some say it's a war for our attention that the advertisers and social media want, and that isn't going to change anytime soon. We are also aware of the biased media from the left and right, fighting to prove and disprove facts in order to convince the public of an agenda. And you may also know that every human is targeted by endless advertisements, approximately 5,000 daily compared to 500 in the 1970s, according to a 2006 CBS article. But what happens when this news is spread? The fake news, the false news that makes people have to think more than once or twice before and after they've read it and ask, is this true? Ali Velshi points out in a relevant TED Talk that fake news creates confusion that obscures basic facts, thereby impeding necessary debate. But where did this term come from? And do its origins point to a conclusion to the question of why is fake news such an issue in 2017 as well as 2018? Everything started in 2016 in Velis, Macedonia. According to a Vice article, a BuzzFeed researcher discovered that 140 fake news sites originated from this city. It seemed that there was more money to be made in building fake websites. Wired also reported on this and concluded that one site of fake news generated $16,000 in revenue in only a few months. And in the final weeks of the 2016 election, articles weren't pro-Trump for any hidden reason other than the income that came with it. These articles got 30 million shares, and it was all paid for by AdSense. What is AdSense? AdSense is the platform that Google Display Network member sites use to sell ad space, generating revenue when site visitors click or view on the advertisements. A BBC article discusses the spread of fake news and its real-world consequences. Pizzagate was one of these instances, in which rumours that sex slaves were being held under a Washington pizza restaurant when a man entered the busy family restaurant with a rifle. He was sentenced to 4 years in jail. Brooke Binkowski, author of the fact-checking website Snopes, says a lot of people want proof that their worldview is accurate and appropriate one. This is confirmation bias, and the idea of reinforcing people's beliefs and falsely confirming their prejudices is something that Alan Montgomery says his fake news sites actively tries to exploit. Alan Montgomery not being his real name, but a man whose website, The National Report, has mastered the art of getting people to read and share their fake news offering. Confirmation bias. Filter bubbles. A filter bubble is an algorithmic bias that skews or limits the information an individual user sees on the internet. The bias is caused by the weighted algorithms that search engines, social media sites, and marketers use to personalize their experience. Google and Facebook tailor your search feeds, and they can do this even when you are logged out. There are up to 57 ways Google can customize your search results just for you. Comparing them to a friend or someone next to you will most likely bring differing results. Fact-checking. But what happens when the mouthpiece from which the information originates is false? In an episode of Last Week Tonight by John Oliver, he states that the political fact-checking website PolitiFact found that just over a quarter of President Obama's statements were false to some degree. But with Trump, that number is currently over 2/3. And perhaps that is why one reporter covering Donald Trump has stated that it is indeed very difficult to understand what he means when he speaks. Academic sources. Fake news and ideological polarization is an academic study that develops a theoretical analysis of ideological polarization on social media and the effect of fake news, as well as the increasing effect and spread of filter bubbles occurring within social media as well as mainstream media. They found empirical evidence that customizability of technology increases ideologically driven selective exposure and the likelihood of echo chambers and filter bubbles in the modern media landscape. This reiterates the point that social media, like newspapers and TV, in the beginning, were sought after because of their political biases. This journal confirms how social media is a tool propelling this customization of information and creating the likelihood of echo chambers. Another article discusses the offline networks and the settings around the use of social media, such as the situational and dispositional factors, and how they should be more heavily looked into by scholars when evaluating social media for political communication. This article differentiates between one-off and repeat online participation as a tool for political conversations and whether or not it counts as having a conversation or not. I conducted a study in which I asked questions like, does fake news affect your conversational politics? Surprisingly, 23% said that they were confused, 40% said that they would talk about it more because of these articles, and 37% said it does create trust issues with social media. This raises the point that maybe for young university students, they are actually intrigued in political conversation because of these articles. So what can you do? You can check your information and where it comes from using Snope, and make sure to follow both sides of a story, and to understand before mindlessly typing up a fake comment of your own. The best way is to adapt, learn, and question what could seem to be good or true. And finally, just be aware of the situation is the first step you can take to understanding the complex stories spurred on by the media.